Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today, doing the breakdown for Terence Crawford versus Shawn Porter for the WBO welterweight title. That fight takes place Saturday, November 20th on on ESPN pay-per-view. Really going to be a good fight. Very excited for this bout. It's a very good matchup. Two top welterweights, two big names. And it's a big deal fight right here because for the first time, in the welterweight division at least, you have ESPN and Top Rank working with PBC and Al Heyman, working with their fighters to make a fight. Now, this fight was mandated. It was going to go to a purse bid, but people don't understand that Shawn Porter could have very easily passed on his mandatory title shot and went after the WBC title, went after being the mandatory for that belt in a rematch with Errol Spence, but he wanted this fight. And Terence Crawford's been in need of a PBC opponent, in need of one of the top guys, and PBC has this division on shutdown. Outside of Virgil Ortiz and Terence Crawford, this whole division, in the top 10 at least, all the top 10 guys are aligned with the PBC, so it's very hard to make a fight for Terence Crawford with one of those guys. But now that is possible. Now it's going to happen on November 20th, and it's really exciting for both guys. It's that fight, that it can be a very good fight, but for the winner, it's going to be huge, especially if it's Terence Crawford. It's going to be huge. But we'll get into that as we do the video. Now, this video is, how I do my breakdown videos is I start with the favorite, and then I go to the underdog, but I ask a bunch of questions. The first one is, basically I give you their last 3-4 fights, how they're rolling into this fight. Then I discuss how big of a fight it is for them, basically. And then I discuss, I ask the question, what kind of fight do they need to fight to win? And I also ask the question of, can they win by knockout? Can they win by decision? And then I go into what does it mean for them? What does it mean for boxing if they win and lose? And, I switch over to the underdog after I do the favorite, and then at the end, I make my prediction on the fight. So let's jump into the favorite, the undefeated WBO welterweight champion of the world, Terence Bud Crawford. Crawford coming into this fight, he hasn't fought in a little over a year heading into the fight. It's going to be since actually my wedding night, November 14th. He fought former champion Kell Brook, and he whipped Kell Brook's ass. And you know what? I agree that Kell Brook was a washed-up fighter, but what do you do against a guy like Kell Brook who's washed up? You whip his ass, and that's exactly what Crawford did. Got him out of there quick. Prior to that, in December of 2019, he fought Adigis Kavaliauskas, the Mean Machine. Early on in the fight, I think it was the 4th, 5th round, he got hit hard. Should have been scored a knockdown. It was not. And after that, he figured Kavaliauskas out real quick, totally dominated him and stopped him in the 9th round impressively, handing Kavaliauskas his first defeat. And then prior to that, in I believe it was May of 2018, or it could have been June, he took on Amir Khan, former champ, and dominated him. Khan ended up quitting in the corner after the 6th round, and Crawford retained his WBO title. So that's the last 3 fights for Terence Crawford. COVID has obviously kept everybody out of the ring, but also Crawford struggles to find top-tier opponents to fight, guys that want to fight him. He's on that elite pound-for-pound level. I currently have him number 3. He's been a champion at lightweight, 135. He was great there. He's been, he was the undisputed champion at junior welterweight, 140. Unified all 4 belts there. I believe he became only the, I want to say he was the 3rd or 4th guy to unify all belts. He was the 3rd guy. Since actually Bernard Hopkins and Jermaine Taylor did it back in the 2005, I think is when Hopkins beat De La Hoya to unify all 4 belts for the first time. and then Jermaine Taylor beat him. I want to say a year or two later, he beat him to capture all 4 belts. But yeah, Crawford became only the 3rd guy to unify all 4 titles, and you know, in the 4-belt era, which has been the 4-belt era. The WBO title was made official like in, I want to say, the early 90s. So we're talking, you know, pretty much 30 years. You know, now the WBO title has not been recognized as part of the Undisputed until the belt actually started, you know, until they actually unified belts back then. People started recognizing the WBO title as a legitimate part of the Undisputed belt. But that's a big deal. That was a big accomplishment for Terence Crawford to do that. And, you know, since he's moved up to welterweight, he's dominated. He moved right up and took on Jeff Horn, who got that lucky decision in his home country of Australia over Manny Pacquiao. Crawford beat the shit out of him, you know, and then he, that was in 2018, and then he took on Jose Benavidez, who was undefeated, and stopped him in the 12th round impressively. So, you know, Crawford's fought some good fighters. For those people that say Crawford hasn't fought anybody, no, he fights really good fighters. They haven't proven themselves yet. You know, they don't have a lengthy resume, but he's beaten some good, solid former world champions. He's got some solid names on his resume. You know, they're just maybe like guys like Kell Brook and Amir Khan who are washed up, or they're guys before they really create their resume, but they're good, solid fighters. And you know, he just hasn't fought the elite guys with the PBC. He just hasn't been able to get those guys in the ring. It's been too hard to make those fights. So his contract's expiring after this fight with Top Rank, and maybe this can be a jump-off point for Crawford to land those bigger fights with PBC guys, and the fight that everybody wants to see, Errol Spence. So this is Crawford's biggest fight by far coming in. It really is. This is bigger than his undisputed title fight with Julius Ndongo. This is bigger than his fight with Yuriorkis Gamboa at lightweight. This fight is huge. Sean Porter is a former 2-time welterweight champion, and he comes to fight all the time. This is Crawford's coming in the favorite, but Sean Porter's a live underdog, and Crawford is hungry. He's hungry. He wants this bad. So, you know, this is his swan song to this point in his career. You know, this is a big deal fight for him, and a big test. So, let's ask the question: what kind of fight does Terence Crawford need to bring to win this fight? And, you know, if Crawford moves side to side, he can be very successful in this fight. And the thing is Crawford, with some of those guys, that, as I said, that you don't know the kind of style that they have because you haven't seen them a lot, you know, because they're good fighters. They're just kind of starting their run in, you know, facing elite guys like Crawford. He usually catches those guys early, so they haven't really built up the kind of style of fight that they bring into the ring. You haven't been able to see them all that much. Well, Sean Porter he's been banging around in one of the top welterweights, won his first title back in 2013. He's been doing it for 8 years now. So, and he has the same style, you know? So Crawford needs to know that, and he needs to take advantage of that and start early instead of waiting 3, 4, 5 rounds to figure his opponent out. You know, I think that would be a mistake if Crawford tried to do that. I think he needs to start moving to the sides right away. Right when Porter comes in, move to the side, tag him with those short shots. The timing, you know, the timing that Crawford has when he's in the ring is impeccable. And if he's on point and he starts early, he could definitely make a dent and make an impression, in my opinion, on Sean Porter. And I think he needs to do that. That lateral movement, the side to side, don't back straight up. When he backs up, he needs to move his head. Don't back straight up. And I think he needs to get started early. You know, because he cannot get stationary with Sean Porter. He does not need to fight Sean Porter's fight. He needs to move side to side. He needs to tag Sean Porter. And that uppercut could be a money punch if Porter comes in with his head leaning forward. He could definitely tag Porter the straight right, the straight left, because because he can punch from both sides. And that uppercut, if he can land that uppercut on Porter, you know, he could definitely make a dent. So that's the kind of fight Crawford needs to have, is just try to, you know, don't get in a slugfest, try to wear Porter down, and just that timing, those big shots, the timing, he could definitely be successful. Can Terence Crawford win by knockout? And you know what? I think he can, to be honest. I really think he can. I think, you know, Crawford wears his opponents down, but again, it's his perfect timing that makes him so good. Him and Vasily Lomachenko are the same. These guys aren't overwhelming power punchers. They just land those perfectly timed shots, you know, that really hurt a fighter, that really hurt a guy. They can land those shots over and over, and that's, you know, you land a perfect shot, that's all she wrote. You know, how many lucky shots have you seen guys land? Well, these guys, they're not lucky shots for them. They land those perfectly timed shots. You know, they're experts at it. They're very smart. Terence Crawford's very smart. He can win this fight by knockout. To be honest, you know, I've seen Sean Porter get hurt. You know, Adrian Broner hurt him and put him down. You know, he got up, but he got hurt. Errol Spence hurt him and put him down late in that fight, but he got up. You know, Terence Crawford has that kind of timing, and I think he's even better with it than Broner and Errol Spence. So, absolutely, Terence Crawford, I think, could knock him out. You know, maybe he could hurt him early, maybe, and put him away, but I see it more in the middle to later rounds, catching him after kind of a wear down. But it really, Crawford has the kind of power to hurt him at any moment. And, yeah, I think he could knock Sean Porter out. Can Crawford win a decision? Absolutely. You know, I mean, Crawford can win a decision. He doesn't go 12 rounds a lot, but he can absolutely, you know, go out there and win a decision. I honestly don't remember the last time he went 12 rounds, though. It might have been the Victor Postol fight. It might have been when he beat Victor Postol years ago. I want to say that was like 2016. That might have been the last time he went to a decision. So Terence Crawford likes to finish his opponents. So, you know, but can he win a decision? Absolutely. Crawford's about winning rounds and piling up points, so for sure. Now, what does it mean for Crawford if he wins this fight? Well, it means everything. This is huge for Terence Crawford's career. It would be the biggest win of his career. And it doesn't matter if the fight's close or if he blows him out, but if he blows him out, people are going to give him the edge in the potential showdown between him and Errol Spence. Because Errol Spence, you know, struggled with Sean Porter and won a close decision. You know, if Crawford goes out there and knocks Sean Porter out or dominates him over 12 rounds, he's going to get the edge, the swing. You know, people are going to swing back towards him as the favorite in the fight with Spence, and people are going to want to see that fight even more. So it's a huge fight for Terence Crawford. Huge. If he can beat Sean Porter, it's huge for his career, for his legacy, and it's, like I said, it's not just Errol Spence. It could lead to, you know, him fighting all the PBC guys, you know, him opening the door to all of them by beating Sean Porter. So it's a big, big fight for Terence Crawford. What does it mean, you know, for him if he loses? It's going to be tough. It really is going to be tough. A close decision loss, though, like if he were to lose a close fight, I don't think it would hurt him as bad. People would just, they're not going to look at him as on the above level anymore, or maybe he's on the above level. He's going to be looked at as the same level as Sean Porter, Errol Spence, which isn't a bad thing. You throw all those guys in together, I mean, damn, that's a good-ass group of fighters that you don't know who the winner's going to be if they match up. But he just wouldn't be on the elite level. Now, if he goes out there and gets his ass whipped against Sean Porter, though, then he drops a level. That could really hurt him. So a loss is going to hurt, as it always does no matter what. But for Crawford, it's going to hurt a little bit more because people have been waiting for him to get a fight against a fighter like Sean Porter, a really good elite welterweight, for a while now, and prove himself. And if he fails that test, it's going to hurt. Definitely going to hurt him. What does it mean for boxing if Crawford wins? Well, again, I think it's huge for boxing because, you know, the underlying fight that people want to see is Crawford and Spence. People are thirsty. They're bloodthirsty for that. And especially since Crawford's contract with ESPN and Top Rank is about to expire. Now, Crawford, it doesn't mean it's a lock that he's going to the PBC, but, you know, I've heard ties to Eddie Hearn and DAZN. Crawford goes over there, those guys will work with the PBC a little bit easier. PBC will work with them a little bit easier than they do ESPN and Top Rank, you know? But, you know, it's great for boxing if Crawford continues to win and build that huge welterweight showdown. I liken this fight to Mayweather-Pacquiao. You know, that's what the real bloodthirsty boxing fans want to see. Now, of course, these guys aren't as big of names as Mayweather and Pacquiao, Crawford and Spence, but they're big names. And the boxing world is just bloodthirsty for Crawford and Spence. So it's that kind of fight. It's Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns from the 80s type build up for a fight. You know, people are just dying to see it. And as Sugar Ray Leonard said, Crawford, as Sugar Ray Leonard said back then, he made Tommy Hearns wait because he wanted the fight to get juicy, to where people couldn't stand it anymore and they had to have the fight. And we're there with Crawford and Spence already. But if Crawford beats Porter, people are going to be, rioting, damn near rioting to get this fight made. So it's huge for boxing. That's the kind of fights we need right there, and it's huge for boxing if Crawford wins. What does it mean if Crawford loses? Or what does it mean for boxing if Crawford loses? It's going to hurt boxing a little bit. It will. And just kind of, like I said, I don't think Crawford is going to get blown out if he were to lose, but if he does lose, it does bring him down a notch and kind of puts him on an even level with everybody else, and it takes that fight off the table to where it's as, like I said, as juicy as it could be. So yeah, it definitely would hurt boxing. I mean, Sean Porter is a stud. It would make him a 3-time champion, so it wouldn't completely devastate boxing, but people want to see Crawford Spence a lot more than people want to see Spence and Porter 2, or even Crawford and Porter 2. You know, if Crawford loses a close fight, a potential rematch it could be in the contract. So we'll see. Now, let's switch over to the underdog, Showtime Sean Porter, the former 2-time welterweight champion of the world. Now, Sean Porter, heading into this fight, he hasn't fought since he took on Sebastian Formella in August of last year, 2020. Got a one-sided decision in that one. Shook off some rust from the loss the year before to Errol Spence in September of 2019. He fought Errol Spence. He fought his ass off. He fought better than people, myself included, expected him to fight. And, he went out and he got hurt in the late rounds but kept grinding. The fight was a split decision in favor of Errol Spence. But again, I think a lot of people, myself included, were favoring Errol Spence to win that fight going away. And it just didn't happen because Sean Porter's just that good of a fighter. So, a very good fight right there. He lost his WBC title when that happened. And the fight prior to that, he took on Yordenis Ugas in March of 2019. And he escaped with a very close, controversial split decision win in a fight that a lot of people thought Ugas won. It was kind of an ugly fight. But those are Porter's last 3 fights. Now, this fight for Sean Porter is a big one. It's huge, but he's been there before. He's coming in the underdog. He owns that role. And, because he's coming to underdog so many times for wins and for losses that it doesn't bother him, or he's the B-side of the fight. Not necessarily even the underdog, just the B-side. But he's been doing it for years. The fight with Devin Alexander when he first won the WBC title. I mean, the IBF title. He was the underdog in that fight. He really was. He went in as the favorite against Kell Brook, but Kell Brook outboxed him, in that fight. But it was a close majority decision loss. He didn't lose by much. Adrian Broner, people didn't know what they were going to see in that fight. Porter dominated for 12 rounds. He got put down once late in the fight, but he got up, finished the fight, and won a clean one-sided decision. He went against Keith Thurman as the underdog, challenged for the title. Fight that a lot of people thought Thurman was going to cleanly outbox him, and Thurman barely beat him in a very close fight. I had it 7 rounds to 5. All the judges scored it 7 rounds to 5. It was a very close back and forth fight that he barely lost. And then he bounced back from that, and he went in as the underdog against Danny Garcia in a fight that I picked him to win, a close fight, and he went out there and just barely outworked Danny Garcia in a great fight for the vacant WBC title, and he became a 2-time champion with that win over Danny, you know? And then the Ugas and Spence fights happened in 2019, and he lost the close decision to Spence. But Shawn Porter is, you know, he's just trying to prove that he is just a straight up Hall of Famer. I think he is already. A win here would just make him a first ballot Hall of Famer, though. You know, this is a huge fight for him, trying to become a 3-time welterweight champion. He definitely can pull it off. He definitely can do it. We got to see what happens, though, on November 20th. But he's rolling in confident as hell, and just a straight veteran. Been here before. I don't think the moment's going to get to him. He's ready to fight. Now, you know, again, he hasn't fought. By the time the fight happens, it's going to be about 15 months in between fights. I don't think that's going to bother Shawn Porter. Always comes in shape. Always is ready. Really trains hard. So I don't think that's going to affect him, really. But the first question we got to ask is, what kind of fight does Shawn Porter need to fight to beat Terence Crawford? And for me, he needs to force Crawford into his style of fights. Shawn Porter's not a guy that should change his style, because his style has always been effective. It's always worked. Even in defeat, it's always worked. He's always been in the fight and a grinder. It's never been like, oh man, he shouldn't have fought that way because that's what lost him the fight. No. His style of fighting has kept him in the fights, has made every one of his fights close. He's a grinder. He's a rough fighter, a tough fighter, and he needs to do the same exact thing he always does against Crawford, especially early, and see if Crawford can handle the pressure. He needs to cut the ring off. When he comes inside, if Crawford tries to move, especially without punching, especially without counter punching, he needs to trap Terence Crawford. Try to get him against those ropes. Try to get him in the corner and unload. But land those crisp, hard shots. He needs to throw a jab on his way in. Doesn't need to just, you know, throw haymakers on his way in. He needs to throw a jab to the body, hit him in the chest, throw a jab to the head. That's what he needs to do. And he needs to get inside. He needs to make it rough. He needs to make it dirty, because his thing could be the fact that Terence Crawford doesn't go to 12 rounds many times. The last time he even fought into the championship rounds was against Jose Benavidez back in 2018. Other than that, he hasn't been a full 12 rounds since he beat Victor Postal back in 2016. So, you know, Terence Crawford, after a year off, if Shawn Porter's in shape and can take him into those deep waters in a rough, tough fight and force him to fight his kind of fight, it could be a short night for Crawford. He might not make it to the final bell, or he might be exhausted by the time he gets there. So Shawn Porter, that's the kind of fight he needs to do. Cut off the ring, make it rough, make it tough, fight his style all the way through it. Now, can Shawn Porter win this fight by knockout? I think if he can wear down, I don't know if he has that one punch type power to really hurt Crawford bad. I mean, I think he could. I've seen Crawford get hurt by guys before, but he just kind of more wears an opponent down. So I see it more being he could knock him out by that. But I think if he wears him down, and like I said, especially with Crawford not being a guy that goes into the fights late most of the time, yeah, he could definitely wear him down, and I think stop him possibly in the late rounds. Yeah, I think it's possible. Can he win a decision? He can win a tough, hard-fought, close decision. I think he can. I think Crawford, is about piling up points. He is, but he's never been in a ring with a guy like Shawn Porter. So can Shawn Porter get on the inside, win some rounds with his style if he forces Crawford to fight his kind of fight? Yeah, he definitely can. And Crawford's the kind of guy, as I've said, that takes a few rounds to figure you out. He's the kind of guy that likes to kind of fight toe-to-toe sometimes. That could be detrimental. That could be a mistake against Shawn Porter. So if he decides to do that and Shawn Porter continues to frustrate him and make him fight his kind of fight, yeah, and pile up points, yeah, Porter could win a decision. I think it's possible. What does it mean for Shawn Porter if he wins this fight? Well, it's huge. It's huge if he wins this fight. He becomes a 3-time world champion, then he upsets the apple cart. People are going in thinking that Terence Crawford, this is his his swan song to win, and he's gonna win for sure. That's what people are thinking. But Sean Porter's like, nah, man, this is my fucking night. I've been here before. I could do this. I could pull it off. So it's huge for Sean Porter to come in and become a 3-time welterweight champ and piss everybody off in boxing. But a win here just continues to keep him on that elite welterweight level. It guarantees him a Hall of Fame spot, and it sets himself up for rematches with maybe Porter, maybe Errol Spence to unify belts, maybe Yordenis Ugas. It just makes all those fights juicy, and Sean Porter, becomes the shot caller for a moment. Maybe he allows himself to call shots over most fighters, maybe except for Errol Spence. But that's what Sean Porter needs to do to if he wins, it's huge for him. It really is. It's huge for his legacy. What does it mean for Sean Porter if he loses? I don't think it's going to hurt him all that much, unless he gets beat down. If he comes in and loses another close fight, people are going to say, well, hey, Sean Porter leaves his heart on the table, goes out on his shield. He's a warrior. We know that. He's still an elite welterweight no matter what. But if he goes out there and gets his ass whipped, if he gets knocked out for the first time in his career, people are going to know Terence Crawford's on that elite level to beat a guy like Sean Porter like that. But that might be the first indication that maybe Sean Porter doesn't have what it takes to compete at an elite level anymore. He's right now a very, very good gatekeeper. He's the kind of guy that Jaron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz want to test themselves against to see if they're elite. And he's the kind of guy for Crawford. We already know he's an elite fighter. We want to see if he's above Errol Spence kind of elite fighter. Though, if he's pound for pound elite fighter, and a win over Sean Porter would let us know that. But for if he gets dominated, that might be the first signal that, hey, he's not at that elite level anymore. So, it's going to hurt him if he loses either way, but because, again, a loss always hurts, but how he loses is going to be a big deal. But at the end of the day, even if he gets beat down by Terence Crawford, I think it's going to be more of how good Terence Crawford is, not how bad or losing his edge Sean Porter is. So, I think it falls along those lines. But the fact that Sean Porter is like an announcer with the PBC, and does all that extra curricular type stuff for boxing, and he's getting a little older, a beat down loss, he might not have very many fights left in him after that. So, yeah, a loss does hurt, but it could also signal, hey, I'm getting towards the end of my career. I've been in the top of the welterweight division, 2-time champ for the better part of a decade. That's a good fucking run. Sean Porter has lasted and been around longer than most motherfuckers. And Sean Porter's an absolute beast. So a loss is going to hurt, but I don't think it's going to hurt him too bad. What does it mean for boxing if Sean Porter wins? Again, as I said, I think it hurts boxing because we lose one of our elite pound-for-pound guys that we thought was special in Terence Crawford. But, it doesn't hurt boxing too bad because Sean Porter's a great fighter, So I don't think it hurts boxing too bad, but it hurts them bad from the sense that we lose that big mega fight between two undefeated American champions in Crawford and Spence. But, it doesn't hurt boxing in terms of, it's going to be, the end of the line, the end of the world or anything like that, because Sean Porter's a great fighter, so it wouldn't be that bad. What does it mean for boxing if Sean Porter loses? Again, it's probably better for boxing if Sean Porter loses. Boxing, gets to keep the potential matchup between Spence and Crawford. But if he gets beat down, it does hurt boxing a little bit because you lose one of the top guys in the welterweight division, and he's one of the guys that makes welterweight the best division in boxing. So if he gets beat down, but if he loses another close fight, it only builds the welterweight division up more and makes it that great of a division that it already is. So, not too bad. Now, the final question. Who wins this fight? Sean Porter or Terence Bud Crawford. And I am in full belief that I think this is Crawford's moment, and I think he's going to pass this test. I think he's going to beat Shawn Porter, and I'm calling a knockout in the late rounds. I think he is going to use that side-to-side movement. I think he's going to land a lot of big shots on Porter, and I think Porter's going to be open for it. I've seen Porter get hurt before, again by Broner and by Errol Spence, and I think Crawford is a better timing puncher than those two fighters, and I think he's going to hurt Porter and wear him down and stop him in the late rounds, and he will retain his world title. Now, I think it could go to a decision, and I think the fight could be close, and I absolutely believe Shawn Porter's a live underdog, because I made the same prediction when Errol Spence fought Shawn Porter, that Errol Spence was going to stop him in the late rounds. I thought Errol Spence was on that kind of level. And I thought Errol Spence was pissed off after he didn't stop Mikey Garcia, and people gave him shit for it. And Shawn Porter turned everything on its head and proved me wrong. Can he do it again? We'll see. That's the question that needs to be answered. But this is a huge fight. Can't wait to see it. Saturday, November 20th, ESPN pay-per-view. That's the breakdown video for Porter and Crawford. I hope you guys enjoyed it. True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.